you can get a 70 to 100K or $35 to $50 per hour after just 6 weeks of training and after between 1 to 3 months of job search. There's always exceptions. Someone will get the job after 2 weeks. Someone will get the job after 4 months. As long as you're going to follow the instructions, you're definitely going to see the results. You're going to see the interviews. You're going to see the job offers. All you need to do is just to follow instructions. You don't need a computer science degree. You don't need a technical background. It's very simple, very straightforward. There's a lot of jobs. Just for the past 3 months, more than 150 of our graduates got jobs across the United States in already 30 states. So we're going to talk about the industry. We're going to talk today about the salaries. We're going to talk about what we actually do at work. And of course, we're also going to answer your questions. Just please bear with us, listen carefully to the lesson. Most of the questions are going to be answered during the lesson. So focus on the lesson, not on the chat. But at the end, if you're still going to have questions that were not answered or maybe something was not clear, we would love to answer those questions, okay? So the profession that we're going to talk about today is software quality assurance, also known as QA. So QA stands for quality assurance. There's different titles, different names for this same kind of job. It could be a QA tester, a functional tester, a black box tester, a software QA engineer, a test engineer, and many other names for exactly the same kind of job in most of the cases. So for example, myself, when I worked at Apple, my title was a software QA engineer of second degree. When I worked at Intel, it was test engineer. When I worked at Uyala, it was senior functional tester. When I worked at Toyota Scion, it was a QA tester. So different titles, different names for exactly same type of job. So what we do, the purpose of our job is to make sure that everything looks, works, and feels good. We don't need to fix anything. All we need to do is to report issues that we find. Whenever we see a mismatch between actual and expected behavior, when we compare the requirements to what we actually have, the design to what we actually have, whenever we see any issues, any problems, when something is not working or something looks weird or strange or bad, that's when we report those issues, okay? So, long story short, we report the issue, we send it to developer fixes the problem, sends back to us, and we verify that this issue was fixed on the new version. That's our job. If it was fixed, we close the problem. If it was not fixed, we assign the problem back to the developer with our comment that it's still reproducible, it's still there. So again, when we go to a website, a web application, or a mobile application, for example, a weather application or maps application in our phone, dating application, someone designed it, someone created it, developers created it, and someone like us, a QA guy or girl, a quality assurance engineer or a tester, we come to verify that the issue was fixed or to verify that all looks and works and feels good. That's what we do. That's our job. And then we don't need to fix anything. We just need to report it, assign it to the developer for them to fix it, and later to verify the issue was fixed. So there is no problem with doing the job because it's so simple, so straight, very much straightforward. The problem is not doing the job. The problem is getting the job. And we're going to talk more today about it and how we can help you get this job as soon as possible with a maximum possible rate in minimum possible time without wasting your time and effort. So is this course for you? You should be authorized to work in the United States. You could have citizenship or a green card or any other kind of work authorization that allows you to work anywhere, anytime, without limitations and without sponsorship. So for example, if you have EAD asylum, you're going to be fine. You need to be comfortable speaking English because that's the language that you're going to use to communicate with your team, with your manager, with your people you're going to work with. So you need to have English. It should be the level of English should be so you will be able to communicate with your team. So it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be Shakespeare. You don't need a PhD in English literature. You just need people to understand you and others, and you to understand others. Okay? Nobody cares about your accent. As long as people understand you and you understand others, you're going to be fine. You also want to start a career in tech because that's what we do. So be ready for that. You need to be ready to accept between 65 to 100K job offers. Most of you are going to get 70 to 100K if it's a full-time, or $35 to $50 per hour if it's a contract. But as I mentioned before, you're always going to have exceptions. Some will get 65K, some will get 110K, but overall it's going to be between 70 to 100K salaries. You are looking to get a job within the next 2 to 4 months because after the course of the 4 weeks, you will be joining the internship for minimum 2 weeks, minimum 2 hours per day. And after that, you will start your job search. Of course, as long as you follow the instructions and you watched all the lessons and you joined the internship and you prepare for the interview during the internship, you will start the job search, which is going to take between 1 to 3 months, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes 4 months. But you need to keep in mind that it could take up to 4 months. What you don't need any technical background, and you witness soon why, because we're going to show you what we do at work. You don't need any computer science degree. You don't need any development skills, programming. You don't need to learn programming because we're going to talk today about manual testing. The 70 to 100K, 35 to 50 bit per hour, it's for manual testing without any automation, without any coding. You also don't need to buy any equipment as long as you can watch the lesson, as long as you have a laptop or a computer and it allows you to watch the lesson, see us and hear us, you are doing well. Let's talk about the average salaries for software QA engineer according to glassdoor.com. And by the way, guys, if you're going to have questions, I will answer those, but please focus on the lesson. At the end, I will answer all of your questions. So average salary for software QA engineer in the United States, according to glassdoor.com, which is probably the best place to see the average salaries for different professions, is around $98,000. Now, we learned two things from that number. First of all, that there is a huge demand for QA people. Only maybe 4 months ago, it was around $68,000. So it jumped almost $30,000, which is amazing. It shows that there is a great demand for QA people. And by the way, whenever it was around $68,000, our graduates didn't really care about the average. Our graduates were making 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, and 100K because our graduates are prepared much better than the average. We don't want you to become the average. We're going to prepare you much better than the average. We want you to impress the hiring manager. We want you to get those jobs. That's why you should not really care much about the average, but it's a good indicator for your understanding, for you to understand the industry. Now, another thing that we learn from this number is that the average software QA engineer in the United States doesn't know any coding, doesn't know any programming, doesn't know any automation. How we know that? Because someone who knows automation, who knows programming, he will not even talk to anyone for less than 110, 115K. But the average software QA engineer makes less than 100K, which means that he doesn't know any automation. Now you will notice that probably 80% of the positions that you will see on the market going to ask you for automation, Python, Java, programming languages, different tools, more experience, and stuff like that. Probably in 80% of the cases, 80% of the jobs. But you will be very much surprised to see that 65% of those eventually will hire someone like you. How we know that? Because just for the past 3 months, more than 150 graduates got jobs across the United States. Our graduates are working already in more than 300 companies in 30 states, and we definitely know what we're talking about. So we see that for many years, that the job description not always reflects what you actually need there. And eventually, many of those are going to hire someone like you because they will not be able to find someone who knows automation or programming for less than 110 and 115K. And we are talking about jobs offering 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, and 100K. That's why those jobs are going to get to you. Now, the benefits of QA jobs include, it's very easy to learn, no need in programming skills at all. It's very straightforward. You will see very soon what we actually do at work. There is no problem doing the work at all. It's very, very straightforward. You just need to follow instructions and pay attention to details. The compensation is very good, 70 to 100K, $35 to $50 per hour. It's awesome. Lots of QA jobs around the US. Now I see more than 2 times more jobs than ever before. If you go to dice.com, Indeed, you will see more than 2,000 positions in the big cities. Before, in the good times, it was 800 positions, 900 positions, 700 positions, sometimes 1,000 positions. Now we see more than 2,000 positions in the big cities like New York, Chicago, Seattle, San Jose, New Jersey, Atlanta. Like any big city, you will see a huge demand for QA people. The funny fact is that you can work remotely since last few years, and it means that you have much more opportunities than ever before because you can apply in other states, in other cities, and work from home. So it's definitely another benefit that you can work remotely. Most of our graduates are working remotely. Most of QA people are working remotely. It might change soon, but definitely you will have a lot of positions, a lot of companies that are going to continue working from home. So you don't need any computer science degree. This is one of the happiest jobs in the US, according to Forbes magazine. QA considered one of the top 2 happiest jobs in the US. It's a shortcut into the IT world, and you will have opportunities for career growth. Whenever we talk about career growth, we actually mean that you have 3 options. One is just to do mid-level QA, whatever you're going to learn during the course, to get yourself 70 to 100K, 35 to 50 per hour. Many people are going to love it and going to do it for many years and just enjoy it. But in case that you want to grow, you want to make more money, you want to have more responsibilities, you want to have something more challenges, you will have 2 options. One is to become more technical, to actually learn programming language, for example, Python, to learn algorithms, and to learn different tools for automation. It will probably take you around 4 months if you're going to be focused, motivated, and dedicated. And after that, you will be able to make between 110 to 170K. The only problem is that automation is not for everyone. So manual QA is for everyone. It's very simple. Anyone can do it. But automation is not. Manual QA, if you compare it to automation, it's like kindergarten that you compare to university. Okay? So I recommend to stay away from automation like from fire before you get yourself your first manual QA job making 70 to 100K. Because 80% of the people will have challenges learning automation or doing automation because it's not simple, it's complicated, it's sophisticated. So my advice to you is first to focus on manual QA, get yourself your 70 to 100K job, 35 to 50 per hour. And after you did that, of course, I will recommend you to explore automation, to try and learn it. We can help you with that as well. But just first, focus on getting the job. The other option for you for career growth would be going to leadership, to become a QA lead, to become a QA manager. I don't think it's for everyone. I think it's for those that have great communication skills and some leadership skills. In being QA lead or QA manager, you will have more responsibilities, more meetings, probably more headache, but also a better compensation, usually between 100 to 180K. But again, it's not for everyone, but I want you to be aware of those opportunities for growth as well. So the job titles include, it could be QA engineer, it could be quality assurance engineer, software test engineer, QA analyst, QA tester, manual tester, functional tester, UI tester, test analyst, QE, different names for same kind of job. QA is the second happiest job in the US according to Forbes. You can just Google it, Forbes happiest job, QA, and witness that. That's actually what brought me brought me to QA. I read about this fact that it's one of the happiest jobs in the US, and that what made me curious about this profession. So QA course by Careerist. You will get intensive practical training from industry experts. And when I say experts, I mean that our instructors, our teachers, our QA managers, our senior software QA engineers, software development engineers in test, software QA engineers from the best companies in the world, like Google, Apple, Facebook, Intel, and many others. I will introduce you to the teachers soon, and you will witness that. They come here to share their experience with you, their knowledge, to make sure that you get your maximum rate, minimum time, without wasting your time, without wasting your effort, to make sure that you will avoid the mistakes that we used to have during the beginning of our career and that most people are having. So that's why we are here for. You're also going to get internship with references that will really help your resume, because nowadays nobody really wants to hire anyone without experience. That's why we will make sure that after this course, you will start your internship and you will practice what you learned, and your experience will grow every month of your job search. Your experience will be growing because you can be part of the internship until you get the job. Once company is going to see that you have on hand real experience in your resume, in your LinkedIn, they will call you, they will schedule interviews with you, and you will get the job if you just follow the instructions. We're also going to help you with job applications. We have a service called JAS, where we basically apply for jobs for you, up to 40 positions per day, to make sure that you get a lot of calls, a lot of interviews, and eventually job offers. The job search should not take more than 3 months. If you're going to follow the instructions, you will not need more than 3 months. So just focus, follow instructions, and see the results. The lessons, the sessions, are going to be very convenient. It's going to be online on Zoom. You will be able to watch lessons like today, and also you will be able to ask your questions in the chat that we going to answer during the lesson or at the end of the lesson, depends on the format of the lesson. And if in case that you will not be able to watch the lesson, you will get a video recording of the lesson at the end of the lesson. So you can watch it anytime that works best for you. We're also going to help you with, of course, resume and LinkedIn after we make sure that you follow the instructions, after we make sure that you are prepared for the interview and you sound okay. Once we make sure that you sound okay, we will help you with the resume, with the LinkedIn, with the job search, with the instructions, with the support, with everything you need. Um, our guarantee is that you pay nothing but a small commitment fee until you get hired. In case that you choose the income share agreement, the ISA, I'm going to talk about it very soon in details, you will be able to just pay registration fee, and that's it until you get the job in IT. I'm going to talk about it very soon. By the way, in case that you will get a job that's going to pay you less than 25 per hour, we don't even want to charge you because you came here to make more. So just follow instructions and you will see the results. Now, let me introduce you our instructors. We have Patrick Siebenthal from Facebook, Intel, and actually now he works at Google with more than 6 years of experience in QA. We have Mark Hassel with more than 8 years of experience in QA working at Google and Apple. We have myself, Max Lubachansky, with more than 7 years of experience working at Apple, Intel, and many other Silicon Valley companies. We have this cat, but he's not part of the instructors. I will let him go. And we have Yuri Sokolov with more than 8 years of experience in QA, currently working as QA lead at Google, Mountain View, California. We have Alex Vastovich with more than 7 years of experience, QA manager at different companies like United Power and other Silicon Valley companies. Please feel free to see more about us on our LinkedIn profiles. And feel free to connect, of course. We have Vitaly Yerokhin, QA automation engineer with more than 7 years of experience working in companies like Indeed, for example. We have Ignacio Britos, a QA engineer, QA manager with over 14 years of experience working at companies like Eventbrite. We have Nick Haradze, senior QA engineer with over 6 years of experience, also working in various Silicon Valley companies, for example, Small. We have Hazron Padlan with more than 12 years of experience working for different companies, including Google, AT&T, and Bank of America. Our graduates work for some of the world's most innovative companies like Uber, Apple, Facebook, Slack, Amazon, Samsung, Groupon, AT&T, Google, Salesforce, CBS, Boeing, Chase, Intel, Visa, Oracle, Walt Disney, Snapchat, Dell, Nike, and many, many, many other companies that you never heard about. So you will be able to get jobs in those companies as well. Just follow instructions, prepare well, and you will see those results. Our graduates are pretty much getting jobs every day, literally. It's around 50 people every month are getting jobs now. We are very excited for them. Some of them are getting more than one job offer. So just follow the instructions and you will see those offers as well. I also want you to go to this link after the lesson to better understand what we do, to watch our success stories, to watch our testimonials of our graduates on that link. As well, I promise you, I guarantee you that after you graduate the program, you will be able to join our community and get access to dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of more testimonials of our graduates, telling you the story about how they got the job, what was during the interview, what they're doing at work, and more about their experience. Not all of those stories are on our website, so because many graduates prefer just to share it among the fellow graduates, but they don't really want to go public. So you'll get more and more and more testimonials after you graduate. I can promise you that. Let me show you our success map. So basically, that's where our graduates are working. When we just started, people were saying, oh, it's not only in the Silicon Valley or it's only in New York. But no, it's across the country. We have already 30 states where our graduates are working remotely or in office, most of them doing remote jobs, and are doing this exact type of job. So the rule across the United States is very simple. You can make 70 to 80K 35 to 40 per hour everywhere across United States, anywhere you go. But in the big cities, you can make up to 50 per hour, up to 100K. So for example, in New York, in New Jersey, in Seattle, in Chicago, in San Francisco, San Jose, in LA, you can make up to 100K, up to 50 per hour. For example, in San Diego, people are making between 70 to 80, but we have exceptions of people getting 90K. In Boston, our graduates are making around 80 to 90K. In Florida, they're making mostly 70 to 80K, 35 to 40 per hour. But just recently, we had someone who got 90K, 100K, 110K. So there's always going to be exceptions. But overall, the rule is 70 to 80K, 35 to 40 per hour anywhere. And in the big cities, it could reach up to 50 per hour, up to 100K. Now, let me actually show you what we do at work, because you're probably not sure what actually we do at work. And I really want you to see that. I want you to witness what we actually do. So let me just share my screen with you, and you will be able to see that as well. Boom. You see the website. Okay, so this is just an example of e-commerce website like Amazon with shopping cart where you can buy stuff, you can add stuff, you can make them favorite, you can order stuff, and it shows you basically the page with buttons, with titles, with images. So what we usually first of all focus on its functionality, how things work. Okay, so the website load, it's great. You see the button here, shop now, you click it, it doesn't take you to the right link. This is a functional issue we want to report. So we start with the most important parts. If it's working expected, if it's not, we report problems. After we're done with the functionality, we go to how things look. But before we go to how things look, I want you to notice here that this website is not secure. If we go to other website, you will see here the log button. It shows you that the website is secure. Here, it's not. It's also a security problem that we definitely want to report. Okay, so the button shop now is not working, and that's terrible. We want to report that. Now let's talk about how things look. Usually we just focus on things like if everything is aligned, everything looks clear, looks nice, looks according to the design. We usually compare to the PDF that shows how the website should look like, and we see how it actually looks like. If we see a discrepancy, if we see a mismatch between actual and expected behavior, we report those issues. So for example, this model, it seems that her face is cut off or truncated. We would definitely want to report that and compare and see why it happens, because to me, it looks that it's supposed to show the face. Another example going to be whenever something is overlapped. So you see this guy on the right. If I hover the mouse over the guy, you will see that he will move and will hide the real man's fashion and letter in the word fashion. You see here, it hides the N. So it's a problem. We call it overlapping. Whenever something hides something else, it could be image hiding a text, it could be a button hiding a text, it could be a text hiding a text, it could be different things. So I will show you example. I'm sure that you saw that before. Okay, whenever text hides a button, or whenever a text hides a text. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about, right? That's what we call overlapping. Another popular issue is whenever something is misaligned. For example, those checkboxes, they're supposed to appear on the same line. They're supposed to be aligned, but they're not. So this is misaligned. This field is misaligned to this field, okay? This is misaligned to this. So that looks weird, that looks strange. We definitely want to report this as well. Another example would be whenever something is inconsistent, or whenever you have a grammar mistake, whenever you have spelling mistakes. It's also a issue. We call it UI issues, or user interface issues, or GUI, graphic user interface issues, whenever something doesn't look well. The pictures here below, you see when I hover the mouse over the picture, it changes the cover to blue. Same goes here. But whenever we go to the next image, you will notice that it changed. It's not showing the same picture, it's showing a little bit different, truncated image. We want to report that because it's inconsistent behavior that we should report. I will give you another example. So just for practice, let's assume that we have design document that tells us that we have those models, those text, those numbers, telling you about the different cars of Toyota Scion. Now imagine that all of the cars should be 2019. You go to the website and you see that it actually shows 2019 Yaris, 2019 86 model, also known as FRS, and 2020 Corolla hatchback. So I was expecting to get 2019 Corolla hatchback, but I see 2020. This is just an example, guys. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to report this problem, and we want to report it by simply writing a bug report. How we do that? So first of all, we create a screenshot of the issue. How we do screenshots on MacBook, we just click Command-Shift-4, and we choose the area we want to screenshot. For example, this one. We just select it with the mouse, and boom, it is saved on our desktop. Now you can attach it to your ticket. I will show you how. If you want to take the picture of the whole screen, you just click Command-Shift-4 on MacBook. If you're using Windows, you can go to Start menu, search for snipping tool. You'll be able to do exactly the same thing after, if you never did it before, it will take you a few minutes to learn. Very simple, very straightforward. You can always Google it or YouTube it. We're definitely going to show you how to do it during the lessons if it will not be clear. Very, very simple. So how we report those problems? So 2020 Corolla hatchback should be 2019 Corolla hatchback. What we do, we go to the most popular bug tracking system in the world. Most of you are going to use Jira at work or something very similar to Jira. So as long as you know Jira, you're definitely going to be fine. And all you need to know is this button right now. You just click the Create button. It will allow you to fill out a form with the description with more details about the problem. So first of all, you choose the project name. So for example, we're going to use demo. In your company, if you're going to work on project called Harry Potter, the project is going to be Harry Potter, just for example. Issue type going to be bug report, because that's what we do. We write bug reports. Then you're going to have the summary, which is basically the title, which should show, which should be short and informative. It should show everyone what and where is the problem. To save time, I already filled this form. So just as example, the title should be homepage 2020 Corolla hatchback model should be 2019. Okay, very straightforward. You don't need a PhD in English literature to write it. Very simple. Then you have description with steps to reproduce actual and expected behavior. So for example, go to the website, observe 2020 Corolla hatchback. Actual 2020 Corolla, expected 2019 Corolla. Very straightforward. Then we have priority, how important is problem to the business. Now, because it's the main page, and it's millions and millions of customers watching it, we don't want to allow ourselves mistakes over there. So we're going to call it high or even highest, because it can affect millions of customers. Environment, it's where the issue was reproducible. So for example, if you found it on MacBook, you'll just mention MacBook with the version of your Mac OS, with the version of your browser if you're using Chrome. If it's Windows, you're just going to mention the name of your device, the Windows version, the browser version. If it's a mobile phone, just the name of the device, the Android or the iOS version, the build number and the name of the app, or if it's a website, just the browser if you're using it on your phone. Okay, so very, very straightforward. Then we have the attachments. You can attach screenshots, video recording if necessary, a log file that we're going to talk about during the lessons. But just as an example, how to attach the screenshot, you click the browse, and you just choose the screenshot that we just did today, and boom, now it's being uploaded to your bug report. And finally, we have Assignee. Basically, who's going to take care of the problem, who's going to fix the problem. You're usually going to be working with 2 or 3 different people, and you will know exactly who is dealing with what, who is fixing problems on iPhone, who's fixing problem on Android, who's fixing it on web, who's fixing backend issues. You will learn it during the first days or sometimes weeks at work. You will know who to assign the tickets to. So just for example, I'm going to choose my name just for the practice. So long story short, project name, issue type, which is bug report, title, which should be short and informative, should show everyone what and where is the problem, the description with steps to reproduce, actual and expected behavior, priority, environment, attachment of screenshot, assignee. Then we click the create button, and boom, we have our first bug report. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how it looks like. Title, description, environment, assignee, report, the attachment that we just created and attached, okay? To make life easier for developers, because that's our job, to make life easier for developers and to advocate the customers, to be the voice of the customers. Whenever we see a problem, an issue, we want to report that, we want to improve the user experience. Now, regarding the success stories that I mentioned before, I highly recommend you to watch those testimonials to better understand who we are, what we do. You can also read an article about us on Yahoo Finance. You also can read about us on Y Combinator, just to witness that it's real. It's an actual company. We are here, and we are not going anywhere. Also, I want you to read the article about 9 reasons why manual testing will always be in demand. I'm sure it will be very interesting for you. You can read it on Forbes, a very nice article about it. All right. Just read those reasons, because many people are going to say, hey, manual testing is dying, it's going to disappear. No, it's not. And it's been around for the past 25 years. It's going to be for a long time as well. So please read this article. QA considered the second happiest jobs according to Forbes. I want you to read that as well. And of course, I just wanted to show you that you have a huge demand for software QA engineering positions in different cities across the United States. For example, Atlanta, you see more than 200, 500 positions. In New York, you're probably going to see even more than 3,000 positions. In LA or any other big city, you will see a lot, more than 2,000 positions across the country. That's amazing. That definitely shows that there is a huge demand for QA jobs. It doesn't mean that all of the jobs are going to be fit to you. It doesn't mean that all of them are going to be perfect for you, but it doesn't matter, because you don't need all of them. You just need few to get the job offer. This is the average software QA engineer salary. You guys gonna get between 70 to 100K, 35 to 50 per hour. Now let me get back to our presentation and show you a little bit more. So we already saw those issues, and basically what we want to do now is to remind you what's going to be there. We're going to have 4 weeks of online program, which is going to be from Sunday to Thursday, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. In case that you will not be able to watch the lessons, you are welcome to watch the video recording that is going to be sent to you after each lesson. You're also going to get 2 weeks internship after you graduate the program to practice what you learn. You don't need to go anywhere. It's going to be remote for different companies that we are working with. It could be in Silicon Valley, it could be in LA, in San Diego, in New York, but it doesn't matter because you're going to be doing it remotely. We have different projects, different internships. The purpose of them is to practice what you learn, to write test cases, to execute test cases, to write bug reports, to follow instructions, to attend stand-up meetings, to work in the team, to use different tools, different platforms, testing web, testing mobile, and everything you need to be more confident during the interview, to tell about your project, about your team, and being able to tell what you're doing at work. Now, the internship is going to be minimum 2 weeks, minimum 2 hours per day. If you want to be more than 2 hours per day, if you want to be more than 2 weeks, you are welcome to be part of the internship until you get the job. Regarding the hours and the days, you always can talk to the lead of the internship to find the best time that works for you. As well, we're going to have one-on-one sessions with mentors for all of you guys. After you're going to graduate the program, after you're going to do the internship and prepare for the interview, the mentors will make sure that you're following the steps, that you sound good, that you prepare for the interview questions. If not, they will guide you how to improve it, how to prepare for it even better. And once you sound okay, I'm not saying perfect, just sound okay, we will definitely help you with the resume, with the LinkedIn, with the job application services, and with much, much more. The job application services basically is us applying for jobs for you. You can apply for jobs by yourself as well, and you can combine applying for jobs by yourself and applying using our job application services. Usually that's the best strategy, but just in case that you have 10 kids, 5 jobs, and you don't have time to apply, we're going to apply for you, and you're still going to get the job. Because we noticed that 80% of the people are lazy, and that's why they don't apply much. So we started applying for you. That's why we have more and more and more graduates getting the jobs every day. Now, let me tell you more about our course, about the special prices that we are going to offer you. Now, this is basically different options that you get here. You have few different options. One is just to pay upfront of $2,499, and that's it. You just pay upfront. You don't need to pay anything else, just the $2,499 to get the course. This is definitely the best option, the best deal that you have, because you don't need to pay later much more. All you need to do is just to pay $2,499, and that's it. That's the best investment that you can make. This is the best deal that you can get. Now, in case that you cannot pay the upfront for some reason, maybe financial, maybe you're not sure that you're going to follow the instructions. In this case, you want to, you have the option to choose income share agreement that we also call ISA. By the way, to get the contract and the invoice, you can click the button that just appeared, get contract and invoice, click the get button, and you will be able to get it to your email. Or talk to our career advisors after submitting this form, and they will also love to answer your questions and help you choose the option that works best for you. Now, in case that you cannot pay the upfront and you prefer to pay later after you get the job, you have the option to choose the ISA, the income share agreement, where you just pay a registration fee of $899, after which you don't need to pay anything else until you get the job in IT. Once you get the job in IT, you pay us 15% out of your salary every month at the end of the month before taxes for the first 24 months. Now, of course, the better option, the best option, going to be to pay the upfront, $2,499, because if you pay the income share agreement, it will be more. But again, some people will prefer to pay more after they get the job instead of paying upfront right now, so you choose the option that works best for you. Whenever you get the job and you start to pay the 15% out of your salary, in case that you choose the income share agreement, you pay us only as long as you work. If you stop working or pause working, you just stop paying and pause paying until you get your next job, and then you'll pay the remaining amount of the months. Remember I told you about QA automation that I recommend to try it after you get a job. So once you choose the ISA, the income share agreement, you also can join automation program in the future. For example, after getting the QA job or after at least 4 months of active job search. But again, I recommend to join it after you get your first job. So basically, whenever you decide to join automation and you signed ISA, all you need to do whenever you're ready for that, after you, for example, got your manual QA job and you decide to join automation, you will need to add additional 3 months to your contract. So instead of 24 months, for example, it will become 27 months. In case that you want to pay upfront for both automation and manual QA, you have the option to pay $5,999 and you get both manual QA and later automation after you get your job or after 4 months of your job search. So that's regarding the prices. That's the options that we have. If you're going to have any personal questions, if you're going to have any questions that we didn't answer today, you always can email advisors@careerist.com. Just in case, advisors@careerist.com. Don't forget, I will share all the links with you guys, and don't forget that the income share agreement and the registration fee or the upfront are due by noon tomorrow Pacific time, so you still have time to join the program. I will also share with you a link to a short survey. We definitely want your feedback to become better and to improve. We will really highly appreciate that. I will share the links with you very soon. We're gonna have now the second part of the lesson with our teacher, with our instructor, Yuri Sokolov, who is a QA lead at Google, and he gonna teach you some fun stuff. After he is done with his part, I will join you again and answer all of your questions. Okay, guys? Yuri, can you hear us? Can you see us? Until Yuri joins, let me see if I have some questions that need to be answered. You know what? Let's do the Yuri's part first, and I will answer the questions at the end. Hi, Yuri.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
The class is all yours.
All right.
And guys, as I promised, I will join at the end and we will answer all of your questions. So now just focus on the lesson. If you're going to have questions about the educational part that Yuri going to explain you can ask Yuri. But if you're going to have questions about the course, I will answer those questions at the end. So no need to ask Yuri about it. Okay, I will answer the questions at the end. See you soon.
First of all, well, welcome everyone. I'm so happy to see so many of you here. It means that you're interested in the career of quality assurance engineer. And I'll try to basically transfer my knowledge, what I gathered throughout, almost a decade-long career in quality assurance engineering in one of the top Silicon Valley companies across Silicon Valley. So feel free to ask any questions. Let's make this interactive. Let's not have this boring lesson. I want you to ask questions. If you have any concerns or questions about the career, about the course, about the industry, feel free to ask. I'm here to answer all of them. Okay. So let's start. Let me introduce myself. My name is Yuri Sokolov, and I have more than 8 years of working in quality assurance and IT with various products, various companies. I worked with I worked with many top Silicon Valley companies, with Google, startups, anything. I tested mobile applications, web, hardware, anything. And to start, to tell you a bit more about myself, I did not have any prior IT experience before I joined QA workforce. My degree was absolutely in a different field. It was in design, so it was totally unrelated to IT or computers or computer science. But after the short boot camp that I took many years ago, I was able to find my first career, my first job in quality assurance. So let's start. So let's talk about what is software quality assurance. What does it mean? So when you envision about quality assurance, we will talk about the quality assurance. Before even jumping into the IT, think about something unrelated to IT. Think about something as, simple manufacturing. Like if the company builds chairs or furniture, if the company builds, clothing like shoes, any process in anything, any production process has its own quality assurance part to it. What does it mean? It means that whatever the product you develop, whatever the product you build, should satisfy the criteria to be acceptable, to be shipped to our users or to our customers. Yeah. So that's what quality assurance is. Quality assurance, it's an umbrella term that covers a lot of different things, but basically it means that we will ensure the quality of the product we are making. It's as simple as that. Now, let's move back to the software. When we create a software, and by the software we mean a lot of things. The mobile application you use on a daily basis, we call it a software. The web page you go to order your, I don't know, coffee or whatever on your website, it's also a software. If you use something like smartwatch, if you have a smartwatch, Apple Watch, Google Watch, it has built-in software in it. If you use your refrigerator and your refrigerator has a touch screen, and most likely it will have another software built into your refrigerator, so on and so on. Software surrounds us. It's basically something that we are covered ourselves throughout the past few decades, and it will expand to the amount of which is basically similar to what other products gonna have built-in software. Your toaster soon will have a software. Your air conditioning system, like for example Google Nest, will have a software. It already has a software, so it will surround us no matter where we go. That's why the career of software quality assurance engineer is crucial to the process of building, maintaining, and keeping the software healthy. So let's start with the basics. What is the software quality assurance? Software quality assurance, or something we refer to as SQA or QA, is the process of monitoring software engineering procedures and methods to ensure quality. That's a very high-level definition of what a software quality assurance is. If we will break down to simple definitions, someone designs the software, designers or product managers. Someone builds the software, like developers. Yeah, they code the software. There's need to be for someone who will test the software before it goes to public, before it goes to our customers, and that's us, software quality assurance engineers. There's no such thing as a bug-free software. So quality assurance engineers, what they do, they test the software before it goes to the public, before it goes to the end user. And when we test the software, we find inconsistencies, we find errors, we find issues, we find problems. What this means is something doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. Let's say you have a button on your web page, and you know that when you click this button, something should happen. And during the testing, during this quality assurance phase, we click this button and the button doesn't work, doesn't do whatever it needs to do in order to function as expected. That's called a bug. That's a slang word for an issue. In IT, the bug is something that does not match the expected result. So we always compare the requirements to the actual results. Sometimes we see that there are issues. Why? Because developers, they're people like us, right? And developers make mistakes, and the code is complex, and the system is also pretty complex as well. So it's very, very, very common to make a mistake, very common to make a problem, very common to make an issue when you build something complex as a software. So the companies would rather pay us hundreds of thousands of dollars rather than facing the users' backlash because the feature was not fully implemented. The software was not built well. Imagine an Amazon having a bug where you cannot check out. Imagine the YouTube having a bug where they cannot watch videos. Or imagine the Instagram software having a problem where you cannot share your or comment or like your photos. That would be a disaster. They would potentially lose, millions and millions of dollars to the company because they would basically have so many unhappy users that it would hit their reputation, and they won't get as much satisfaction from their user base as they would think. So that's why, because of the damage the bug can make to the company or the company's image is so super valuable. That's why they would pay thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to their QA engineers, because we will be the ones who would be testing the software before it goes live, before it goes to our users. Because the software is so complex, because the software is so these days especially, the software is really complex. It involves a lot of the coding. It involves a lot of the third-party services. It's almost impossible to build a bug-free software. It's almost impossible to build issue-free software. There's always going to be some problem. There's always going to be some issue. And the way the software is built is like they're changing the code all the time. So every day, every week of the cycle, we will talk about the cycle later in our course, by the way. But during the every day, every week, every month, there is a change to the code. There's an improvements. There's like additions to design, additions to the features, additions to the functionality. There's always going to be change. That's how the software companies work. What that means to us as a part of the QA department is that there's always going to be that error. There's always going to be that bug that is basically hidden somewhere. And our job is to make sure that all the critical problems, all the critical errors are addressed before we ship it to our customers. Is that clear, guys? So the bottom line is it's impossible to create software without having the bugs. That's something you need to understand. That's something you need to memorize. It's impossible, literally impossible, to create software without having the bugs. And it's not a job of quality assurance engineer to catch all the bugs. We don't care about all the bugs. Yeah, we care about catching all the critical problems, all the critical errors, to make sure that whatever the version we send has as less as of critical bugs as possible. We can live with the small problems. Let's say if we if your let's say we have a button and the color of your button is blue, but for some reason it's a bit of darker of a blue that we want it to be, right? Because there was some error in the coding of a color. We can live with it. It's not messing with our clients. It's not interfering with our customers' flow. It's just a visual thing. So this bug we can live with. But if we click on the button and it doesn't work, that's where the big problems come up. it means that something is not working and our customers are blocked from using our software, or the customers are blocked from using our web page. That's where the problem is. So what does the QA engineer do? The quality assurance engineers overview and participate in the entire software development process, which includes the requirement definition, software design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance. So we are one of the most important people in the company. If someone will tell you that QA engineers are not important, they're absolutely wrong. It's not how it works. QA engineers are the most knowledgeable, the most educated, and the most versed people within the company. So let's talk about the software testing, because I know that some of you heard the definition of testing, quality assurance. They cannot connect the dots. What is the difference, right? So software testing is just one of the parts, one of the small stages of quality assurance. Remember, guys, quality assurance is the big umbrella term, and software testing, it's a part where quality assurance engineers or testers, they physically test the software. It's a part of software development lifecycle, which we will cover later in our classes, which is a really important part of the subject. But testing is just one of the phases of quality assurance. So software testing identifies the correctness, completeness, and quality of a software. A software testing investigation gives stakeholders an important information about the quality of the software or service under test. Software testing provides an objective and independent view of the software, which allows the business to appreciate and understand the risks of implementing the new or changed software. So testing is one of just the small parts of quality assurance. It basically means that at a certain point of time, quality assurance engineers will come in and they will physically work with the product. They will try to break it, they'll try to test it, they'll try to play with it, but their job is to break it, to find issues, to make sure that it works up to the standards of what our customers will need. Yeah? Again, what is the difference between QA and testing? It's pretty simple. Software quality assurance is preventative. It analyzes the whole process of software development, starting with the requirements. The process of creating software, it's pretty long. It's pretty complicated process, and a lot of the people are involved. And quality assurance is basically when people who are knowledgeable in quality assurance field basically they will look at the software from start to finish, from the requirements up to the point of where the actual testing will begin, and they will try to prevent any errors from happening. Testing itself is verifying that the software has no issues, has no bugs. It's a physical process. It's just a part of it. So we're trying to test the actual behavior of software to what is expected. Do we expect this button to be blue? And the actual part is, yes, the color of the button is blue, for example. Do we expect this font to be the size of 15? We check, yes, the size of the font is 15. That's what the testing is. It's a comparison, physical comparison between what we expect to see and what we actually see during our testing. Now, let's talk about the manual testing, because a lot of you are, well, not a lot of you, but some of you are confused between, automation, manual testing. What is the difference? Manual testing, in a nutshell, it's when the QA engineer, someone like me, physically, manually, with their hands, their brains, their eyes, will go and test the software, for example, on their mobile device. Let's say I'm testing Facebook, or let's say I'm testing I don't know, Amazon or whatever, any other website you have in mind, I will use only myself and the test device to test the software to make sure that everything works as expected. It's called manual testing because it's performed manually by people. So manual testing is the process of finding the defects or bugs in an application. The tester acts as an end user to verify that all the features of the application are working correctly. If we see that there is a difference, something is wrong between the actual and desired results, we call it a bug. We call it an issue. Then, if we find that there's an actual issue, something doesn't work the way we want it to work, there's going to be a bug report. We have to somehow report it to the developers because developers are going to be the people who will fix it. Then, after the developers fix the problem, so we don't see it anymore when we test, the QA engineers need to basically verify that the issue was fixed. And there's no major defects, no bugs, and the software is ready to go to our customers. When do we absolutely need manual testing? Human intervention needs to be ongoing. So guys, regardless of what other people will tell you, manual QA is by far the fastest, the most efficient, and the most effective way to test the software. Automation is far, far from that standing. And believe me, because I worked as a manual QA for many years, and I also worked for many years as an automation quality assurance engineer. So I know the difference. I've seen it firsthand. Automation is not the the ultimate solution to things. Before you would go to automation, before you would start automating test cases, you need to know the basics of manual testing because all the automation that is built out there is based on the efforts of manual QA engineers. Manual QA engineers are people like us who make decisions manually. Guys, do you have any questions? Let me go through the questions. Only if they're related to the subject. I'm not going to answer any other questions. Or so far, so good. I should continue. Do I have any questions? No questions. Okay, perfect. The question is, what is the end user? An end user is our customer. It's some guy out there that either downloads our application or navigates to our website. That's what we call an end user. Someone who will use our software. Someone who's not affiliated with the company. Let's see what else we have. How hard is it transition from manual to automation? It's pretty hard because you'll have to learn technology tools like coding languages and frameworks. But what's even more harder, because you asked, is transitioning from being someone else to automation. So first, what I always recommend, because it's crucial, it's important, it's super important. First, you learn manual QA. First, you learn the theory. First, you get a hold of the basics of quality assurance and testing principles. Only then you move to the automation. A lot of mistakes that I saw in my life and in my surrounding is that the people were basically hooked on the idea of automation prior of learning the manual experience, manual knowledge, and they failed miserably. Automation is only a tool of how to test. It will not explain you the testing methodologies. It will not explain you the testing approach. It will not prepare you for anything. Automation is just a tool. The manual QA, however, is the it's a basics of how you would test the software without having any support, just you and the software. That's why it's crucial to first learn manual QA and then move to the automation, not the other way around, because you'll suffer. It's going to be painful. You will basically go backwards. Don't do that. Another good question. So let me answer some really nice and empowering questions. What is the most satisfying thing you get out of the being of QA engineer? It's an amazing question, and I'm happy to answer. The QA engineer is someone who works all the time with the different components of an application. It means that you're not bored. You have new things to learn every day. You have a new tools to work with every day. Well, figuratively speaking, every day, right? When you try to test something else, you have to learn new things. So you're kind of like learning all the time. You also work with the end product, which means that you don't work with like a raw code. You don't work with the code at all if you're a manual QA engineer, which is a pretty interesting, which is a pretty fascinating. Another important thing is that you need to play a little bit of a detective role, because you have a software in front of you, right? And you have to investigate it and find issues with it. So you're kind of like a detective, yeah? You're trying to find an issue. You kind of try to investigate what is the problem with it. It's a creative approach, and you will have to basically work with it. When you create bug tickets, when you write documentation, it's also pretty creative, because you're kind of feel like you're a writer. You need to create documents, but you write it as you're creating like a summary report, or you create like a, I don't know, forensic detective description of an issue. So it's fun. It's not boring at all versus being a software engineer. If you're a software engineer, it's as boring as it gets. I'm joking, it's not. But when you're just starting working as an IT, when you're just trying to get into the IT, my first advice is start with manual QA. It will give you so much knowledge that it will help you a lot if you want to pursue career, if you want to advance your career in any other way in QA you like. It's like a really, really good solid base. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next slide. So when does the manual QA come in handy? Everywhere. The answer is everywhere. The way the software is built is, first, there is a requirement document that is created by certain people. Then QA engineers, they test the planning. They plan the testing based on the requirement document. Then then we create test cases. So yes, to answer some of your questions in the chat room, manual QA engineers, they create test cases, which is another beautiful part of it. You feel like you're a writer. You feel like you're I don't know, Edgar Allan Poe, and you have to create certain test scenarios that will basically going to be like user stories, right? They're going to be like a stories that people can go and take and look with your software. So the job is creative. There you go. It's a good one. The job is creative. It's not boring. You'll have a room to wiggle, right? It's not going to be black and white. It's going to be something you'll have. You can give your experience. You can dedicate your personal touch to it. So, and it's very much appreciated by the leaders, by the managers. If you're a creative person, if you involved in this project, they will notice, and they will definitely reward you with something, either like a higher position, higher salary, or whatever. Then what we do, we test. we test the software we physically have to test. And testing, it's probably one of the most boring parts. Not because it's not because it's like a repetitive, but more it's because we kind of like a follow the procedure. However, the testing may also be creative, and I'll tell you about it during our first lesson today. So I'll tell you about ways how we can make testing more creative. Then we, when we find an issue, when we find a product, we create a bug report. We have to report an issue to our developers, because developers are going to be fixing the issues. QA engineers do not fix the issues. QA engineers only report the issues. We only report the problem, and then the developers fix it. After developers fixed the problem, we need to verify that whatever they fixed was actually fixed. There are multiple layers in quality assurance engineering work, but they're all, they kind of like touch different elements. They're not repetitive, which makes this job not boring at all. Yeah? Guys, do you have any questions so far? What kind of a hardware is required to work from home? First of all, if you get hired by the company, they will send you all the hardware you need, so you shouldn't even think about it. Okay, good question. The question goes like this. When you first became a QA engineer, what was the hardest challenge? The hardest challenge when you first became a QA engineer is to fit in within the corporate culture. So corporate culture in United States, especially when we're talking about the IT companies, it's much different from any other industries out there. So unlike your opinion of having difficulties with technical part, the hardest part was actually to fit in within the IT company. And the hard to me, because I came from a different industry, I came from a different background, it was the hardest part. It took me like a year or so to actually, get into the whole corporate culture, the culture of IT companies. It's absolutely different. It was not a technical part. There was not a job part. There was not a QA part. It was just try to, kind of like fit in, blend in within this culture of an IT companies, which, by the way, will try to prepare you as much as we can. So this course is not just about the technical knowledge, because technical knowledge at the end doesn't mean much. What means much is you being able to fit in the company, being able to pass the interview. That's what's the most important part of this process. It's not the technical part. Everyone can learn technical part. You can watch YouTube videos and learn this tool or that tool. It's not important. What you have to do is you have to make an impression on your hiring manager to make sure that they can trust you, to make sure that they see you as a reliable person, someone they see to fit in within the company's culture and the company's team. Does it make sense, guys, what I'm trying to explain you? Awesome. Let's continue. So, manual and automation testing. I'm not going to spend too much time on these pros and cons. What I can tell you is that the all automated testing is based on the manual testing efforts. In my company that I work for, we have a team of automation quality assurance engineers, and we have a team of manual QA engineers. So automation QA engineers pretty much know nothing about quality assurance. They're absolutely clueless. What their knowledge is that they know how to transfer the test case that was written by manual QA into the code. That's the only thing they have to do. Literally, the only thing they have to do, to transfer the test case that was written by the manual QA engineer into the code. That's what automated testing is. So logically speaking, they're suffering because if they're presented with a challenge where they need to have certain of level of cognitive skills when it comes to like quality assurance, they obviously lack these skills and they don't perform well. I was actually one of the only QA engineers in my company that was transferred from manual QA department to automation. So my skills and my experiences are by far superior compared to my teammates and peers. In fact, they are superior to my manager's skills as well, because my manager, being a really good developer and test engineer, they lack knowledge of manual QA engineering. They lack knowledge of basic QA approach and basic QA theory. It's super common. Yeah. So that's why for everyone who still considering to join QA, first join the manual testing. If you know nothing about IT, if you know nothing about QA, even if you know something about IT and QA, you will still get a really, really important knowledge on theory and approach to testing through our manual course. Automation, not so much. Automation focuses on different things. Yeah? Again, when we talk about automation and manual QA, each of those things has its own purpose and has its own timing. And both of those things are important. But we need to think about, guys, I will answer about what is the typical day in life of QA engineers in a few minutes. Give me a second. Let me finish with a slide and I'll answer all your questions. I see your questions. I'll answer them in a minute. So be patient. So when we talk about manual and automated testing, both of those things are important. But they're important in a different way. When we talk about a newly added feature or newly added functionality, like newly added button, the timeline goes like this. Developers spend a few weeks on developing it, right? Then after a few weeks, they will transfer it to QA department. So QA department will have maybe like a week to test, and then they will release it. When you only have like a week to test, it's impossible to automate it, and it doesn't make sense to do so, because automation takes ridiculous amount of time. For one test that I will execute within 1 minute manually, I will need to spend 16 hours to automate it, and then another 16 hours to stabilize it, because it will need some sort of form of stabilization in order for it to run smoothly. So for something that manual QA engineer will spend 2 minutes testing, automation QA engineers will spend 28 hours developing this test. And then there's no guarantee this test will run smoothly. There's no guarantee that nothing will change. Imagine the fact that something will change, like the color of the button will change, or the size of the button will change, or the functionality will change. Something else is going to be added to the screen. It will ruin your test as an automation engineer. You'll have to redo the whole setup of the test, and it's all coding, and it's all super heavy on infrastructure. It's super heavy on computing power. It's not efficient. It works well in certain cases, but not in the case of when you need quick, efficient response from someone, a person who can tell you either it works good or not. By far, human brain and manual QA engineering, which comes from our brain, our eyes, our common sense, is million times superior to automation tests that exist at this point, hands down. Believe me, and I'm an automation engineer myself, and these words are coming from an automation engineer. So let me answer before we go to the next, before we go to the next stage. Let me answer the question that like 5 people asked me. Let me find it real quick. What was it? I think it was, what is a typical day in the life of QA engineer? It's a good question. It's an amazing question. However, there is no like one single answer because the software development process goes in cycles. We call them release cycles or SDLC cycles. It's a cycle. What it means is there's certain pattern of things that are going to happen within certain range of time. Can be 2 weeks, can be 1 week, can be 4 weeks, depending on your company. Usually it involves development, developers develop, designers design, QA engineers test, and the software release engineers release. So what it means that one day of the week, I'm going to be presented with the requirements. And what I can do with the requirements, I can write test cases, for example, or just research the requirements, trying to prepare myself towards some testing, right? In 2 days or 3 days, let's say developers will say, okay, we have a finished product. So there you go, a website you can test. And that's where I can start testing. And it goes for another like 3 days. So during these 3 days, I file bugs, I file issues. And then what happens after it? I wait till the developers will fix the problems, till they fix the issues. So the next day or the next 3 days, I'm spending on verifying that the issues that I raised last week are actually fixed. So it's impossible to say that, what's the average, how does the day of QA engineer look like? Because it's not really repetitive the way you think it is. It follows the release software development life cycle, if that makes sense. Does it make sense, guys? Okay, awesome. So I hope I answered your question. Let's move to the next subject. It's very important, guys. It's very important. Please keep in mind, it's your first lesson. You're about to become a quality assurance engineer. This is something you need to remember, memorize, and understand. Okay, so keep in mind. There are more than 50 different subtypes of testing, but manual QA engineers mostly perform only a few of them. Let's start with like the really, really, really high level of the subject. There's a black box, white box, and gray box, and I'll explain exactly what it means. In black box testing, the tester examines the functionality of an application without having access to the source code. What that means is if you go to your computer or let's say your smartphone and you'll pick up your smartphone and you'll open the Facebook application and you start playing with it, yeah, you're a black box tester. It means that you play with an application, you test an application as a user without learning the code, without having access to the source code, because you don't need to. You don't have to have the access to the source code. That's called the black box, right? So you test the software superficially. And the second part, which is the opposite from the black box, is called the white box. In white box testing, the tester designs tests based on the code. So QA engineering and testing is not, it's not boxed into one specific task or set of tasks. It has many different things that we can do, many different tools we can apply. It's pretty, broad definition of a lot of things we can do in order to test certain behavior, in order to test certain functionality. So white box testing is when the testers test the application from the point of the code. They may not have access to the user interface, but they can just basically test the application using the code. It's something that we will not touch during this course, and something that we will not touch during automation, most likely. It's very specific niche that is covered by very specific people. However, you still need to know the definition. You still need to know the difference. We will not be covering this concept of white box testing because it's unnecessary. The gray box is a combination of two. So in some cases, you will have access to the interface and you will have access to the code. However, also from our experience, it's not the point of what we are trying to teach. It's not the point what you will be doing as your first job as a QA engineer, so we can go forward. Guys, very important part, super important part. Please pay attention and, of course, ask any questions. Main testing types. There are two main testing types: functional and non-functional. So functional is testing what the software does based on its specifications. So we are verifying how compliant it is with specified functional requirements. So I'll read the non-functional and then I'll explain the difference. Testing of a software, so non-functional testing is testing of a software application for its non-functional requirements, how well the software functions rather than its specific behaviors. So I'll give you an example. All of you probably use the Google search feature, right? So you went to the google.com, you typed in the query, the question, and then you clicked on the search button in order to get the results. Yeah? I'm sure that everyone used this feature in their life. I hope they did because it's very useful. From the functional point of view, what we have to do is we have to go to our software under test, which means our website. We have to type in the query, so provide some input to the Google search input field, and then click on the button. Our job, our task is to verify that the Google will return a list of results. Yeah? So the list of results, when we see the list of results, it means that the test is passed because we basically tested the functionality of this particular software. Now let's take a look at the same test, but from non-functional requirements. And non-functional requirements do not test the functionality. They test things, they test how well the software behaves. For example, we go back to google.com. We type in our query into the search box, yeah? And we click on the search icon. So from the non-functional point of view, the test would be, well, for example, how long does it take for Google to return the list of the results? How long does it take? Maybe it takes 1 second, maybe it takes 10 seconds, right? Or, for example, how many results does the Google return? It can be 100 results or it can be 1 million results. So we're not really testing the functionality, but we're testing how well our software works. How well does it perform? Same test case can live within the functional domain and within the non-functional domain. But the result, the measurement of how successful the test case went would be different because it's functional and non-functional. Guys, do you understand the difference between functional and non-functional as I'm trying to explain you? It's very important. You should understand it. Obviously, so far we're just like barely touching the surface, but it's a core difference. So you need to understand the core difference. It's not about precise. It's not about precise definitions. It's about the core difference. The functional requirements. The functional testing answers the question what the software does. Yeah, like what is the function? And usually it's simply measured by it either does what we want it to do or it does not, or it doesn't work. So it either pass or fail. Yeah. So either when you click on the button, it either takes you to where you want to go or it doesn't take you to where you want to go. The non-functional requirements, it's a bit more complex. It's always there's something on the scale. So, for example, can our software support, 1,000 clicks a second, right? So when we like click on the search button, what if we click on the search button like 1,000 times at once? Can it support it, for example? Or like how many search results will our software return? So in that case, we don't measure what does the software do. We measure how well it does it. Yeah. So we can have the same basically test case, absolutely the same test case, but the expectation, like the verification point, would be different depending on functional. Either we're testing functional part or we're testing non-functional part. But guys, don't be afraid. For your luck, non-functional testing is mostly performed by very specific people and rarely performed by manual QA engineers, even QA automation engineers. Non-functional parts, we'll talk about them during our next class, are mostly performed by totally different set of people with a totally different set of knowledge. So you should not be afraid. But what you should be aware of is the definition. Are the definitions of functional and non-functional? You need to be able to understand the difference. You need to be able to explain it in case you will be asked during your interview. That's what we are trying to prepare you. We are trying to prepare you for the interview. We care for you to pass the interview. We care for you to get a job. All right, guys. Let's move to our final educational part for today, because I'm sure your brain is about to blow up, which is fine, but we will finish with this slide. Remember when we had this slide, when the slide said there are more than 50 different subtypes. There are many different subtypes of testing. But do we have to know all of them? No, we don't. We only need to know them because they may be asked during the interview. Something may be asked during the interview, and for your best interest is that you need to be able to remember the definition or tell something about either this or that one type of testing. But do we have to like physically do all of them during our work? No. Manual QA engineers mostly perform only a few of them. And those are in front of you. So I will read and explain one by one. Please pay attention. It's very important. If you have questions, ask now. It's very important. So first, exploratory testing is an approach to software testing which focuses on discovery, learning, and investigation, and relies on creativity, experience, and intuition of individual tester to quickly uncover defects or bugs, as we call them, and often described as simultaneous test design and execution. So what does exploratory test mean is that, let's say you have, I don't know, few hours to spend. What you do is when you get your, application, mobile application, you open your mobile application under test, you just play with it, you explore it, you click on different buttons, you see how different buttons work. Obviously, it goes more structured when you work for the company, so it's not going to be, random. It's going to be something that you will know on what to do, but still it's going to be really a form of exploration. So you will try to play with the buttons, you'll try to play with the functionality, and you will basically you will still apply all your quality assurance knowledge and testing methodology, but you will do it with an exploration point of view. The question I see in the chat room, and the question goes like this: is this class just to help you to pass on the interview or actually teach you the skills you need to do the job? It's both. First, we will teach you the skills, and then we will help you to pass an interview. I hope that answers your question. It's a good question, by the way. Now, guys, a few more important things, a few more important types of testing: smoke testing and regression testing. Please bear with me and ask questions. The smoke testing covers the most important part of the functionality of a software. It verifies that the software appears to be working correctly. It precedes actual in-depth testing that aims to verify that the build is deployed successfully and that all components are running and ready for the actual test process. Let me tell you, where does the term of smoke testing comes from? It comes from the era of the electronic factories, building their first electronics, probably I would think like 70 years ago. When the factory would build, let's say, a toaster, or something like an oven, or maybe a teapot, electric teapot, the first test they would do, they would plug it into the wall outlet, and they would turn it on. If they would see a smoke coming out of the hardware or out of the electronics, it means the test had failed. The test failed. So the smoke testing in software means literally that. We spend as little time as we can, and we touch all the major functionalities of the software. So if you test like something like Instagram, right? You spend maybe 30 minutes, maybe you spend 40 minutes, and you try to do all the major, you try to cover and perform all the major functions of that particular application. For example, upload an image, like an image, share an image, something that all the users do on a regular basis, something that is considered the core functionality. The purpose of a smoke testing is to see problems right away. And most likely, if something is really wrong with the software, something pretty, there's like a major problem, you'll see it right away. You'll see it within the next 10 minutes or 20 minutes of testing, sort of like a smoke coming from the toaster, right? That's what the purpose of the smoke testing is. Now, the regression testing Smoke testing, is it like testing main features? Yes, but it's testing main features at certain period of time and within the certain time frame. But yes, regression testing ensures that the new changes in software do not break any existing functionalities. This type of testing verifies that features that used to work still work. So regression testing, literally, it's super simple. We do it a lot, but it literally means what? It literally means that, for example, if your software had a button a month ago, yeah, so when 1 month ago there was a button or a drop-down field or any other functionality, and it was working fine, yeah, so it was working fine. If you test it today, it should still work fine. If, for example, this button was working fine a month ago, but due to some weird change in code or developers screwing up the application, this button doesn't work today, but it was working fine a month ago. It's called the regression issue. It's called the regression problem. So regression testing is basically to make sure that whatever we had built before is working exactly like it's supposed to today. Guys, do I have any questions about these three types of testing? It's very important. I need to make sure that you understand it. And if you have any questions, let me know right now. Or maybe it's super straightforward. It's pretty clear and you don't have any questions. Also, feel free to point that in the chat room because I need to know. What is the most common testing? These three in front of you. These are the most common types of testing. The question is, will the company we would end up working for provide the different platforms to test? Yes. Everything you need for your work, the company will provide. Examples are not relevant because it's just an approach. There are no examples. You have to have like a physical software to give an example to. In fact, there is no example. These are just the methodologies. These are just three approaches. They are basically applied to anything you like. If you want to test a microwave, you can still apply these two approaches to testing a microwave. If you want to test, I don't know, a chair, you can still apply these three to the chair. Same goes to any other product. These are methodologies. These are not like, actual examples. But they're common to the point of being used in quality assurance within the software development a lot. The question is, so if it's not working during the regression testing, what is caused the bug? Easy. Developers code change caused the bug. There's always a point of developers changing the code. Developers changing the code all the time. They're adding new features. They're changing new buttons. They're always improving the software. So if you see the bug, it means that it was caused by some part of the code changing. Exact website. What I don't understand this question. Methodology that doesn't have exact implementation. You implement it to the product you work on. If you work for Facebook, you will be implementing this methodology to the product you work on Facebook. If you work for any other company, you'll be implementing this methodology for the product you work on. There is no, there is no example. Does it require writing of code? No, it does not. How would you apply these three methodologies to google.com? Easy. Same way you apply it to any software. If you need to explore google.com, you go and explore google.com. The smoke testing is basically performed when developers finished basically building a new version of a software. New version of a software is built literally every day at Google. Every day they have some changes. They have some changes to the code. They basically create new builds every day. So smoke testing is performed on the newly created builds. They will tell you when to do it and how to do it. They'll give you the build. They'll give you the ways to test it. So that's what you're going to do literally every day. The regression testing is performed before the release to make sure that nothing is broken. So when google.com is going to be releasing their new version to the customers, you will be doing the regression testing. It's no different from testing anything else. I hope that answers the question. Can you list the software we'll need and if there's a cost? You won't need any software. If this doesn't answer the question, that the question was not properly asked. I'm sorry. This is an approach. An approach can be used for any software you like, for anything. It's not a physical instructions. It's an approach. Approach on how you do certain parts of testing at certain period of time. There is no like step-by-step explanation, if that makes sense. Is exploratory testing like discovering a bug by accident? Pretty much. So a lot of the bugs are being uncovered during the exploratory testing. That's actually one of the most efficient and important ways of uncovering defects. When they give us the requirements, do they tell us to do particular testing? Usually, developers will give you some hints on what to do. But requirement document, we will teach you how to analyze requirement document during our course. So you will kind of understand what to do. Yeah, based on the requirement document. What program we will use to file a report on what is not working? It's called Jira, and we'll teach you how to use Jira as well. The question, if you have a methodology, I need to understand how would I apply it to google.com. Easy is a good answer for an interview. Methodology is exactly what it means. It's a methodology. It's an approach. It's exactly what is written on the slide. Google.com is a project. Yeah, it's a product. You apply it the same way to google.com like you apply it to any other product. It's an approach. All right, guys. So I think I answered most of the questions, and Max can basically take over.
And I will answer the rest. Thank you very much, Yuri. I will answer your questions, guys. So regarding the different types of testing, what we do actually at work is much more simple than you think. We actually, in most cases, are just doing what we are told. Okay? Can you hear me? Can you hear me well right now? Because some people tell me they don't. Okay, cool. So guys, in most cases, we just do what we are told. So you don't need even to think much. You just do what you're told. You get test cases, you get steps with like, go here, click here, go there, test this, click this. If it works fine, you mark it as pass. If it works bad, you mark it as failed, and you write a bug report. You assign it to developer, developer fixes the problem, sends back to you, and you verify the bug fix on the new version. That's all you do at work. Let me try. Can you hear me better now, guys? Okay, sound is fine. All right, so I hope it's good now. That's weird. It sounds like a problem of the platform that we are using. Let me refresh. Back. Is it better now? Can you hear me well now? And by the way, guys, in case that you do have some problems, just please refresh your browser. By the way, you just witnessed a bug. You just witnessed an issue, okay? That's what we do. We report that kind of issues. So guys, one more time. We do what we are told. We usually get test cases with steps that tell us where to go, what to click, what to do. If it works fine, you mark it as pass. If it doesn't work fine, you mark it as failed, and you write a bug report. You assign to developer. Developer fixes the problem, sends back to you, and you verify the bug fix on the new version. That's what we do. So for example, if you're testing Google, first, we start with exploratory testing. We get familiar with Google, how it works as a user. We click different buttons, we try different queries, we try to, see how to search for files, images. We can search for news. We can try to log in, log out. We can search for different queries, different things that we want to find, and just to use it as a user. Whenever we do, that's what we do in exploratory testing or ad hoc testing. What we do at whenever we do smoke testing, usually we just told to execute certain test cases, and they are part of smoke testing, which basically aims to verify that the core functionality is working. So for example, if you go to Google, you make sure that you can Google. Regression testing, good example would be if we had a bug or an issue on Google and developer fixed that bug, the developer going to send the ticket back to you to verify that it was fixed. So whenever you're going to go and test it again and just test the fix and test the website to make sure that it didn't break anything, because whenever there was a change in the code, you want to make sure that it didn't break anything new. That's what we call regression testing. Whenever we do our testing, we don't really think how it's called, because sometimes we have a bunch of test cases, a bunch of steps that we need to do, and some of those going to be UI testing, how things look. Some of them going to be functional testing of how things work. Some of them going to be performance testing. Sometimes it's going to be smoke testing, regression testing, exploratory testing, different types of testing. You should not care much about it. You should, of course, understand the different types of testing, how they are called, but that's mainly for the interview, because at work, you just do what you're told. Okay? You hear me well? Awesome. Now let me answer your questions, guys. What certificate would we get at the end of the course? So you're all going to get a certificate of completion. You probably can send it to your parents, because you will never need any certificates in QA in the United States. You might need those in UK, in Australia, in Belarus, in Africa, but in the United States of America, you don't need any certificates in QA. How I know that? I don't have any certificates in QA. None of our instructors or teachers have any certificates in QA. None of our graduates have any certificates in QA. And our graduates are working already in 30 states in more than 300 companies. You don't need any certificates in QA, I promise you that. You're always going to find someone who's going to try to sell you certificate but you don't need it at all. What you do need is experience, on-hand experience, a nice resume, a nice LinkedIn, to be prepared for the interview, to impress the hiring manager. That's what you need, and that's what we're going to focus on. Let's see. If you have to live in the big cities, to do the job, how you have to deal with living costs. Can you do the job remotely? Yeah, you can do the job remotely, and that's what most of our graduates are doing, remote jobs. Do you give us Selenium WebDriver to practice in this course? Of course not, because Selenium and WebDriver, it's related to automation, and we are talking about manual QA. In manual QA, you make 70 to 100K. In automation, you make 110 to 170K. And as I explained before, you want to stay away from automation like from fire until you get your first manual QA job. After you get the job, of course, we would love to help you with automation because we have a course in automation with Python, with Selenium, with WebDriver, but just forget about it until you get your first QA job. Do you give us the software to practice during this course? Well, you will have Jira. It's a web, so you don't need to install anything. You can just go to the link and practice how to write bug reports. You will use TestRail to write test cases. You will practice testing different platforms and devices, iOS, Android, Windows, Mac. As far as I remember, you don't need to install anything besides maybe the application that you will test during the internship. What kind of location restrictions exist for newly hired QA agents? Do many companies require relocation? So some companies will require relocation, some companies will tell you to work remotely, some companies will prefer you to work in the same city where you live, some companies will not, really depends. Cool. Let's see what else. Can you list the software we will need to have on our computer and the cost? So you don't need to buy any software for sure. Regarding the cost of the course, I already showed it to you before, but just in case, I will show it one more time. Okay? Awesome. Let's see. Does it mean that everything not mentioned in requirements is related to non-functional? Okay, it's probably a question for Yuri during the lesson, but let's see. Everything that is not mentioned in the requirements is related to non-functional. No, because many times in some companies, you don't even have requirements. They just tell you, oh, just go and test. Just if you find something bad, something not working, something weird, just report it. So it's not always, you always have exceptions. Functional, is it work or not? And UI, is it looks good or it looks bad? Experience, user experience, it's whenever, for example, you submit a form and you didn't get the confirmation that the message was sent, that creates a bad user experience, as example, okay? What is a typical day in life of QA engineer? Well, you work from 10 to 6 or 9 to 5, mostly remotely for the past few years. You just, do what you're told. You usually write maybe 4, 5, 6 bug reports a day. You usually execute test cases that you are told, usually between 20 to 40 test cases. Some of them going to take you a few minutes. Some of them going to take you a few seconds. Really depends. And the rest of the time, you just do what you're told. Many of us are actually enjoy this profession because it's stress-free, and many times you can finish your tasks in 3, 4, 5 hours, but you're still going to be paid for 8 hours. When I looked at job posting, they said certification was required. No, it's wrong. They don't need any certificates once you have on-hand experience that you can show. It's much better than any certificate. And again, nobody in the United States needs any certificates in QA. When I say nobody, I mean 99.99%. Internships are remote. Yes, they are. It's very convenient. Will you get further in your career as an automation QA opposed to manual QA? Well, probably, but it's different. Not everyone can do automation. It's like, would you be able to get more money if you become a developer? Yes. If you become CEO, yes. If you become the president, yes. But not everyone can do that. That's why it doesn't really matter. But let's say in automation, you can make between 110 to 300K. In manual, you can make between 70 to 100K. So yes, there is a difference, but manual QA, anyone can do. It's simple, it's straightforward, and you definitely can get the job. In automation, not everyone can do it. 80% will have challenges doing it or learning it. So just focus on getting the job first, and then try and explore and try to learn it. I'm sure that if you're going to be motivated, dedicated, and focused, you will be able to learn it in 4 months, but not everyone. Does each bug have to be in separate test case, or can multiple bugs be included in a single test case? So guys, test cases are not bugs. Whenever you have test cases, you execute those, and if everything looks fine, you pass it. If not, you fail it. Once you fail it, you create a bug report. Now, usually we create bug report for each and every problem, but whenever we have type of problem, each and every type of problem. But whenever we have one problem, for example, we have 10 places with grammar mistakes on the same page or on few pages, and it's same like grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes, we're just going to create one bug, call it spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes on certain page, and we're just going to mention all the places where it was problematic. Okay. Cool. Let's see. I see. What is the qualification one receives? I see several titles: QA tester, QA specialist. You use the term QA engineer, seems to imply an engineering background. No, it's not, because all of you are going to become software QA engineers after this 6 weeks program. You want to call yourself QA tester, QA specialist, test engineer, functional tester, black box tester? You can do that. Just if you're going to call yourself software QA engineer, you will also get, in many cases, more money. So it's the same kind of job, different titles for exactly same kind of job. And as I mentioned before, at the end of the course, you will get a certificate of completion, but you will never need it for sure. Do you have like a template that you follow to find the bugs, or do you use something else? First of all, you use your common sense. Second, you use certain standards, like that everything should look nice, aligned, links should work, nothing should be truncated, overlapped, misaligned. Okay, the basics. Also, you usually have a document which shows you how things look like, and you compare it with how it actually looks like. For example, design document. So that's how we find issues and report them. Sometimes we don't have the design document, and we just, based on our feeling or based on some common sense, we just report the issues like we did today when I showed you how we report issues. Cool. Can I get a full-time and a part-time in QA? Yes, of course. 60% of our graduates getting contract jobs, 35 to 50 per hour, and 40% of our graduates are getting full-time jobs, 70 to 100K. In both cases, you will work 8 hours per day, 5 days a week, 40 hours per week, and just full-time you will get, for example, more benefits, days paid vacations, insurance, but I recommend just to follow the money, because in many cases, for example, you will get 70K full-time, but you can get 50 per hour contract. It will be around 100K. So just follow the money. You should not care about is it a contract or a full-time for your first job. Just get it. And once you get it, continue your job search, asking for more money, more benefits. For example, just full-time after you got your first job. Is it possible company prefer QA with certificate? No, it's not possible, because nobody needs any certificates in QA in the US. Do companies give the manual QA training on the bug they are looking to fix? Or is the tester trained to know what to test? Well, in 99.99% of the cases, you all can start the job tomorrow and you will be just told what to do and you will see the issues. Very, very simple, very straightforward. There is no problem of doing the job. You don't need 6 weeks or 6 months to learn how to do testing. But in order to get the job, in order to get the maximum rate, in order not to waste your time and effort, in order to get the 70 to 100K, 35 to 50 per hour, you just want to follow the instructions. For manual QA, do you get to write test cases? 60% of you will not need to write test cases because you come to work and somebody wrote those test cases long time before you joined. But just in case that you will be asked to do that, write test cases, it's fine. They're just going to show you how, and you will get all the instructions. We will also prepare you for that and teach you that. How many websites in a day does a manual QA tester go through? Guys, if you're testing for one company, you're usually testing just one website. Okay? If you're testing one application on mobile phone, you're just testing this one single application. Cool. Do most companies that have remote jobs have location restrictions? No, I don't think so. They just want you to be in the United States. I do not have any experience. That's great. 99% of you don't have any experience. 99% of our graduates don't have any experience. 99% of those that get the jobs don't have any experience. Besides the experience that you will get at the end of the course joining the internship. That's also an experience. And I don't think it's going to be challenging. It's going to be very simple. Do we have to intuitively know the potential bugs to test for? Or do companies give us a list of critical bugs to test for? So in most cases, you will just use your common sense. But in many cases, you will be just instructed what to do, what to click, what to expect. And if you see something else, you write a bug report. How QA different than UX? So guys, as I explained before, whenever we do the testing, we make sure that everything looks, works, and feels good. So UX stands for user experience. And when we test how things look, it's UI. When we test how things work, it's functionality. When we test how things feel, it's user experience. Okay? So I don't know how it's different. It's relevant. Can you comment on the age, expectations in the industry, preferences? Yes. So guys, it's not about the age. If you feel confident, if you follow instructions, if you speak English, if you have work authorization, if you culturally going to fit the company, it doesn't matter how old are you. We have graduates working from 19 years old to 60 years old. We just had 60 years old who got a job in Atlanta, Georgia, $80,000. We just had another guy in New Jersey who is 55 years old who got around 40 per hour, also around $80,000. So it's not about the age. Of course, you need to be a good user, a normal user of your phone, of your laptop. You need to know how to Google, how to YouTube. You need to know how to restart your laptop, how to restart your mobile device. Okay, you need to be a good user. If you're not, you can go to YouTube and watch a tutorial for beginner, how to use your device or how to use your laptop. It's Windows or Mac, iOS or Android. You need to be a normal user of those. Do you get a mentor during the training or after the training? So you will have a support person that will help you during the training, and you will get a mentor after you graduate the program, after you prepare for the interview, to make sure that you're following the instructions and that you sound okay. Once we make sure that, we help you, the mentor helps you with the resume, LinkedIn, with the job application services, with the instructions and everything else. What is the difference between QA and automation? We already answered it. You have QA manual and you have QA automation. Manual you do with your hands, everyone can do it. Automation you do with code, not everyone can do it. And we explained it multiple times today. Regarding personal questions, tax deductible, I don't think so. You can just email support@careerist.com or advisors@careerist.com. Can we work for two companies at the same time? I mean, work for two jobs. Well, theoretically, you can. According to the law, I don't think that you can work for two full-time jobs, but if it's a contract jobs, you can. Just make sure that they don't know about each other. But I know some people that are actually doing it. It's stressful because you need to attend meetings in both places. Sometimes they overlap same time, but it's possible. Can I move up in QA role to project management? It's not really relevant. Usually people from QA, they go to QA automation or to become a lead or a manager. Regarding project management, it's not relevant and not related at all. But I guess you can become anyone you want, if you wish, but it's not really relevant to QA. All right, guys, by the way, I hope that you remember that we have the Get Contract and Invoice button below. Once you click it, you will be able to get the contract that you want. Just please click the button to be able to get it. Let's see. Tomorrow class. Yes, we're gonna have a class tomorrow, guys. And by the way, just in case, I want to show you the syllabus because I shared the link with you already. Some of you are telling me that they cannot log in, but guess what? You don't need to log in. You can just go and scroll it. You can see the hours, you can see the days, you can see the topics. So all the topics that, by the way, you're gonna see it according to your time. All the topics that you're gonna see, that's what you need. We know better than you what you actually need. So if you need it, it will be there. If you don't need it, it will not be there. We actually gonna have more. For example, API testing, at least 3 lessons. It's gonna be a gift for you that we're gonna give you. It doesn't appear in the syllabus, but it's just an extra that we are giving you. You're gonna have their Jira, test trail, using Chrome DevTool, using Xcode and Android Studio to install and uninstall applications to create log files. You're gonna have browser stack to test different platforms and devices. We're gonna talk about web testing, mobile testing, different platforms, different devices, compatibility testing, attending different meetings, working in a team, communication tools. We're gonna teach you ADB and Unix commands, the basics that you need to get the job and start the job. 90% of you will never need to use that, but for the interview, you need to know that, at least the basics. And many, many more. Just watch the syllabus, you will see all the topics that we're gonna cover. What else? Does registered candidate get access to labs? I'm not sure what you mean. Let's see. What time are the sessions? So guys, it's 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you're gonna have any personal questions, you can email advisors@careers.com. I shared the links with you guys with the email as well. Will I be the instructor? I'm gonna be one of the instructors. I definitely gonna also meet you every Saturday after you graduate. We're gonna have graduate meetings every Saturday after you graduate the program, where we're gonna answer your questions, bring your fellow graduate success stories, and gonna instruct you and guide you and help you and support you and share with you tips and tricks. I definitely gonna teach you a few lessons during the course as well. Let's see. Can we get copy of the slides? So guys, you will get the video recording of the lesson after each lesson with the slides as well. Yes, classes are Sunday to Thursday. Awesome. Who are the mentors? People that we mentor to make sure that they prepare you well. By the way, we're going to teach SQL and API as well. You just need the basics. You don't need to get a PhD in that, just the basics of the basics. Most of you will never need to use it at work at all. So we are very transparent and we tell you how things are in the real world. You have some things that you learn for the interview and you have things you do at work. It's completely different things, okay? Because what you do at work, you don't need 6 weeks to learn. It's very simple, very straightforward. But in order to get the job, to pass the interview, to get maximum rate minimum time, you need to learn much more. 80–85% of what you're going to learn, you will never need at work. Sorry to disappoint you. You don't need most of what you learn. It's just for the interview. Of course, it will make you a better professional. You will know the theory, the terminology. It's good for you. But at work, you will just be doing what you're told. It's going to be much more simple. Cool. For those that already paid and signed, how do we get the credentials? Very simple. You just email advisors@careers.com. Or if you already registered, you email support@careers.com. Awesome. Where do I see the syllabus? My favorite question. I already showed it at least like 5 times, and I shared it in the links. But again, I will share it one more time. All right, guys? If you're going to have any more questions, we would love to answer those. Just email us at advisors@careers.com. I shared the email with you, and Mike shared it as well. Thank you very much for being with us. Hope to see all of you tomorrow. Thank you, guys.